Hi everyone, this is audap. Let's continue our game of Chaos Head Noah running on Nintendo Switch. When we got to school, I sent her ahead and went to the bathroom. This was another survival technique of mine. I really appreciated that she was doing all this for me, but going to school with a girl in tow would mean standing out way too much. In particular, there was no telling what the DQNs in my class would think. So, to make it look like we'd come to school alone, I slipped into the bathroom and killed some time. This turned out to not work, however. I left the bathroom, trying my best to act natural, and kept my head down as I walked on the side of the hallway towards my classroom. Before I got there, though, I could see Ayase walking towards me. Our eyes met and her lips curved into a slight smile. Ayase was famous. I didn't want to risk attention by talking to her, but she stood in front of me, blocking my path. I didn't have a choice.
Takumi, あれから警察はどう?
I put a hand over my mouth to stop myself from screaming. Why would you talk about something like that with all these people around? I quickly looked around. This was incredibly bad. Ayase was a local celebrity. It was rare enough for her to come to school, but not only that, she was the vocalist of a famous band, Phantasm, and was pretty to boot. Everyone, boys and girls both, were interested in her. Normally, there'd be no way she'd ever talk to a loser like me. The gazes of the people around me were causing me physical pain. I wanted to run away.
剣を探して。君はそうしなくちゃいけないのよ。
She always said the same thing whenever we met. There was a chance Ayase was on my side, but having her say the same damn thing every time was getting on my nerves. I wanted to find it too, I just didn't know how.
ヒントが欲しい。君はどうやってあれを手に入れた？
いつの間にかそこにあった。
That again? Was she just screwing with me?
気づかなかったわ、最初は。でも、ちょっとだけ見方を変えたらわかった。もしかしたら、匠にももう見えているのかも。見ていないだけで。
What the hell did that mean? Talking to Ayase was always exhausting. It was like some weird Zen koan thing.
剣はちゃんと探してるよ。僕だって絶対手に入れたいから。
I sighed as I answered, and then the gazes of the people around me grew too much to bear. I ran past Ayase and into the classroom. What I found there only made me feel worse. Misumi and some of the other boys were staring at me in shock. Crap, they'd seen me talking to Ayase. This was bad. I didn't know what they were going to say. If I was lucky, they might just make fun of me, but there was also the chance they might do something a lot worse. I looked down and headed to my seat, trying to make myself as small as possible. Please just let everyone leave me alone.
Oi, oi, oi!
My prayer went unheard.
タク、てめえいつの間に？今、岸本と話してたよな。
The most I could do was shut up. I couldn't look up.
岸本が誰かとまともに会話してるとこ、初めて見たぜ。一体どんな手使ったんだよ。
Please, don't talk so loudly that the rest of the class can hear. Please, just leave me alone. I'm not going to try and date Ayase or anything. It's not like I'd have a chance anyway. So please, just calm down.
なあ、タク、教えろって。
大地
Mimi interrupted.
落ち着け。タクが困ってるでしょ。
悪い悪い。
Nishijo dropped his voice low and patted me on the back. I sighed a little without looking up. Mimi had saved me again.
で、実際のところどうやったんだ？
Nishijo was, as always, a man who thought only of his little head, only with his little head.
大地ってほんと節操ないよね。そのうち彼女さんに刺されるんじゃない？
心配すんなって。俺こう見えても各種ケアは欠かさねえから。
何それ。
なたく、教えろよ。岸本とはどんな感じなんだ。
Misumi was rubbing my shoulders. He wouldn't let the subject drop. I looked up, afraid. Half the boys in the class were whispering to each other and glancing at me. This was bad. They were still looking at me. Don't look at me. I felt the prickling at the back of my neck. If the DQNs came after me, I was finished. My life would become a hell of bullying. What should I do? Run? Cut class and go home? But I couldn't go home alone. The thought of running into Shogun or Yuo was too much for me. Have Rimi come home with me? She'd said she was the caring and devoted type. If she wasn't lying, she'd skip school alongside me. I just need to get out of here as soon as possible. Suddenly, there was a loud noise at the entrance. Everyone turned to look at it. It was the transfer student. She was rubbing her tear-stained eyes and bowing an apology to everyone she could see. As always, she was completely silent. The entire classroom also fell silent at this sudden development. What had just happened?
今の見たか。
見た。一人で勝手に扉に激突してたね。
やっぱ梢ちゃんは可愛いな。
I'd never seen somebody so klutzy outside of an anime.
また泣いた。大丈夫かな。すごい音してたけど。
Rimi whispered, worried, and then headed to the transfer student faster than anybody else. She was pretty nosy from the look of it, or maybe kind was a better word.
リミに先越された。待て待て、梢ちゃんを解放するのは俺だ。
Misumi shouted as he raced after her. Kozu's accident was, for me, good luck. All the boys who'd been staring at me were now looking at her. Good job, transfer student. But I happened to hear what some of the girls near me were saying.
うざ。何あれ。狙ってやってんじゃん。
Just a few faint whispers.
視界にはデッドスポットと呼ばれる通常は使用されることのないいくつかの神経チャネルが存在することをご存知ですか？
それが第二世代と何か関係があるのかね？
そういうことになります。簡単な実験をしてみましょう。これをご覧ください。
子供騙しを聞いている暇はないぞ。
重要なことですよ。この図には左側にドット、右側にリングがあります。では左目を手で覆って見えないようにしてください。そのまま右目だけで図の左側にあるドットを見つめてください。いかがですか？ドットを見つめる目の端の方にリングも存在しますか？
いくらドットだけを見つめていても、隣にあるリングがついでに見えているのは当然だと思うがな。
では先生、ドットだけを見つめたままモニターに顔を近づけていってみてください。隣のリングはどうなりますか？
ほう、これは
興味深いね。
右側のリングが消えた。そうですね。これは視界が狭まったからではありません。その証拠にさらにモニターに近づくことでリングはまた視界に現れます。
これは一体どんなトリックだ？
いいえ、トリックの類ではありません。普段は使用されていないですが、人間が元から持っている目の機能の一つですよ。これはデッドスポットと呼ばれ、ノアによって人間の視界の中に無から有を作り出す際に使用するチャネルなのです。
Classes had ended, and I was standing by the school entrance. Twilight was spreading over the sky. Several crows were silently flying past me, flapping their wings as they receded into the distance. I was waiting for Rimi. She was on cleaning duty today. She hadn't promised to walk home with me today. But I was sure she would. I'd been standing here for over 15 minutes, waiting for her. I wasn't sure what would happen tomorrow, but I'd make it through today. Misumi had been so desperate to talk to the transfer student that he'd forgotten to ask me any more questions about ISA. Thank you so much, transfer student. Speak of the devil, she'd just come walking by. She bowed at me, looking like she was about to cry. I bowed back, awkwardly. And then I watched her slowly walk towards the school gate. I realized again just how small she was. She had the body of a lolly. She was kind of a klutz, too. I wasn't sure about her personality, but it was probably very sweet. She ticked all the moe checkboxes. But the other girls didn't like her, supposedly. I guess there's a difference between 2D and 3D. She ran back towards me.
わざわざ待っててくれたんだ。ありがとう。そんなに私と一緒に帰りたかった？
She looked at me with a grin. I quickly turned my head away. Thanks to the setting sun, she probably didn't realize how red my face was. It was less that I wanted to go home with her, and more that I was too scared to go home by myself. Even while I'd been waiting, I'd been terrified that Yua might be lurking behind a corner. Mimi knew that, but she decided to be mean and asked anyway.
ああ、嘘でもいいからそうだって言ってほしかったな。ねえ、私さ。
Mimi suddenly looked off into the distance. Her eyes sparkled red in the light of the setting sun.
タクの力になれて結構嬉しいよ。
ありがとう。
The words were out of my mouth before I'd even knew I said them. I really was grateful. Rimi was now somebody I couldn't live without. Until I found the D sword, she was all I had.
どういたしまして。
Rimi smiled happily and led me on.
さあ、帰ろう。
My school, Sume Academy, was in the luxury residential district of Shoto. All the houses in the area were expensive and gave off a sense that people who lived there were important. But even though it was just a few minutes away from the heart of Shibuya, there weren't many people out. It felt kind of lonely.
タクって意外とモテるよね。
She'd startled me so much I was gasping for air. What the heck was she talking about?
あれ？自覚ない？
She smiled and pointed her finger at my nose. You aren't supposed to point at people, you know.
だってこの前はメガネかけた3年生の綺麗な人と一緒だったし。
あれは。
うん、昨日聞いた。タクに意地悪する人だよね。
If you knew that, then why...
で、今日はあのフェスと話してた。あと折原さん。転校してきた朝に真っ先にタクに声をかけてたよね。さらに今こうして私と一緒に帰ってる。ほら、モテモテだ。
This was something I'd been thinking about lately, too. Am I about to get a girlfriend? Is this a new amazing chapter in my love life? Things like that. A month ago, I'd never thought that was possible. Back then, I'd never even had a chance to talk to any girls, except Nanami. I'd even lied to myself and everybody by saying I wasn't interested in them. How come I'd had so many more chances to talk to girls over the past month? It all started when Shogun had entered that chat room. So, a part of me wondered, was this whole past month just my delusion? Was I just having a long, long dream? It felt like the things I was experiencing right now might all just vanish tomorrow. Sometimes it seemed that way anyway. Or had the person inside me changed? Maybe the person controlling me before now just loved to play by themselves, and the person controlling me now liked working with other characters. Either way, it was hard to believe that this past month was real. Too much had happened.
っていうか、私今日初めて知ったんだけど、フェスって同じ学校だったんだね。しかも同学年の隣のクラス。
Mimi's voice took on an excited tone. She must have really be a trend follower.
昨日タクから CD 借りたばっかりだから、すごくびっくりしちゃった。それに、すごく可愛い子だし。
Mimi came around to my front. Her tone dropped to a low, hesitant one as she spoke, still walking backwards.
何話してたの？今朝、ウエス、岸本さんと聞かせてほしいな。私には聞く権利なんてないかもって思うけど、でも岸本さんと話してた時のタク、すごく思い詰めた様子だったから、なんだか心配で。
I know, she's so suspicious. The way she's acting. I should have even seen that too. Maybe it was safe to tell Remy everything. There wasn't anybody else I could talk to about it, and I was just getting tired of thinking about things on my own. I wanted somebody else's opinion. And not somebody like Ayase or Senna, who'd just say weird, abstract things that didn't make any sense. Someone who could clearly tell me what they thought. But, well, then I'd talked to her yesterday, and she hadn't believed a word I said.
話してたのは剣のこと。
剣って、昨日タクが言ってたやつ？
I nodded.
綾瀬は持ってるんだ。
何を？
本物を。
Remy gasped, or I thought she did. Her eyes went wide, and she seemed to stagger back a few steps.
嘘だ。
She sounded really doubtful.
だってあれ、おもちゃでしょ？
だから僕のはおもちゃだけど、彼女のは本物で、ライブ行けば見られ。
I stopped in mid-sentence. Could she see it? Ayase had also told me that the only people with the right power could see the D-swords.
ライブに行けば、その本物の剣を見られるの？じゃあ、今度行ってみようかな。ファンタズムのライブそのものも見たいし。あ、タク、一緒に行く？
見られないかも。限られた人にしか見えないらしいんだ。
あ、そうなんだ。裸の王様みたいなものかな。じゃあ、私バカだから見えないかも。なんてね。
I wasn't sure if she could see it or not. I didn't know how a real D-sword worked anyway. I was just going off what Ayase had said.
そんな剣、本当にあるのかな。やっぱり私、信じられないよ。タクが見たっていう岸本さんの剣も、本物っぽく見えるおもちゃじゃないの？
でも光ったし。
おもちゃでも光るやつはいくらでもあるよ。
Well, I couldn't deny that. You could just add some lights and get a glowing effect. But the way Senna and Ayase's swords had felt so real, so powerful, I couldn't believe they were toys. They had an aura about them that a fake toy could never create. And more than that, Ayase had pulled the sword out of thin air. Yeah, it wasn't super speed or hypnosis, or anything fake like that. What I'd seen was a glimpse of an incredible power.
僕には妄想を現実に投影する力があるかも。
I was far from certain myself, but I decided to share with Mimi the possibility that I'd been thinking about.
だから将軍に、狙われてる気がする。
There was no other reason for him to be coming after me, at least. There weren't many people out there as harmless as me. Most otaku are harmless. They're stuck in their own little worlds. If they had time to spend bothering people in the 3D world, they'd rather spend it having fun in their minds with 2D girls.
昨日調べてた特許のこと？タクはあんな装置持ってるの？
I shook my head.
そうじゃなくて、装置とかなくても力使えるかも。
タクからかってるんでしょ？
あ、わかった。何かの漫画かアニメが元ネタ？
Mimi didn't believe me after all, but I had at least some reason to think it was true. That bus accident when I was in elementary school. I explained that to her too. I might be a murderer. I worried that telling Mimi might make her want to stay away from me, but I just couldn't keep it in anymore. I needed to share it with someone and get it off my chest. Mimi seemed lost in thought as she listened to me stammer out an explanation, and when I was done,
考えすぎだよ。
she just laughed it away.
そう考えてることだって、タクの妄想なんだよ。わかってる？
Was I really overthinking it? I hope so. But the weird feeling in the bottom of my heart just didn't go away. The office smelled like dust. It was on the second floor of an aging mixed-use building. Light poured in from the huge window in the back that covered the whole wall, making the dust in the air look like powder snow. The letters on the window that read Trustworthiness Investigation Company Frisia cast shadows on the desk beneath it. There were 20 desks in all, tightly crammed together. They were all piled high with folders and papers, in a way you might expect to see in a publishing office. Most of the desk occupants were out, with only 5 or 6 people there. But the reason wasn't because it was a Saturday. There was a schedule on the whiteboard next to the entrance, and it was packed tight with writing. Yasuji-ban opened the agency door right at the end of lunch break. He'd walked in without knocking, but none of the people there had said a word. He gave them a friendly "Hey there" as he headed straight for the desk furthest in the back, where a heavy-set woman was starting her laptop.
Oh, Momo-chan, genki?
The woman he'd called Momo was Katsuko Momose, the president of Frisia. She had an annoyed look on her face and refused to even look up.
バンちゃん、また来たの？
また来ましたよっと。NewGenについての新ネタない？
たく、私は忙しいのよ。抱えてる案件が5万とあるの。うちみたいな零細企業は土日返上で仕事しなくちゃいけないの。わかる？
Only then did she look up at me. When she saw the grin on his face, she put her hand up to her forehead and shook her head slightly.
ここは警察の秘密組織でも子会社でもないって何度も言ってるでしょうに。ただで情報もらえるなんて虫のいいこと考えてるんだろうけど、ここに来てる暇があるなら自分の足で何とかなさいな、公務員さん。または依頼料を払うこと。予約表はみおちゃんにもらってちょうだい。
相変わらず冷てえ社長だな、おい。
Momose's attitude seemed to have no effect whatsoever on Bon. He waved his fan indifferently.
この会社立ち上げるときにはあんなに協力してやったのによ。
あら、バンちゃんも恩着せがましい人だわね。何年同じこと言い続ければ気が済むわけ？
まあ言っててくれ。じゃあ依頼料はこいつでどうかな。
Bon offered her a plastic bag with a logo of a local confectionery shop on it.
なんだ、あるなら最初から出してよ。いつも悪いわね。みおちゃん、お茶2つ持ってきて。
Momose's attitude changed completely. She called out to one of her employees and opened the bag to examine the goodies.
あら、栗羊羹、今が旬なのよね。わかってるじゃない。あ、ばんちゃん、そんなところに突っ立ってないで座って。
どうも。
Bon chuckled as he pulled a chair over from a nearby desk and sat next to Momose. A female secretary brought over 2 paper cups filled with hot tea.
んで、なんか新ネタあるかい？
ちょっと待ちなさいって。
Momose carefully peeled the wrapper off one of the bars, folded it up, and set it off to the side of her computer. Then she popped open her mouth and tossed the first piece of chestnut yokon in it. Momose was a woman who loved Japanese confections. Whenever he wanted to know something, Bon had to bring her some kind of treat.
おいしいわ、これ。
人に言えた義理じゃないけどよ。ダイエットしたらどうだよ。でないといつまでたっても結婚できないぜ。
本当に人に言えた義理じゃないわね。私はもうとっくに今期は逃したわよ。
Momose shrugged and took a sip of her tea, then turned to Bon.
また新しいニュージェネ事件起きたわね。こんなところでサボってていいの？
そっちの調査は俺以外の全員が真剣に取り組んでるさ。俺は別のアプローチから真実に迫ってやるってね。
かっこつけちゃって似合わないわよ。
Bon decided to avoid the tea until it cooled down. He couldn't handle anything, food or drink, that was too hot. The weather had turned cold, but he was still waving the fan at his face. It was a habit of his.
警察は G レートの線追ってるの？
そうそう、G レートね。ありゃすごいな。ももちゃんの話の通りだったぜ。
私が嘘の情報を渡すわけないでしょうに。これでおまんま食べてるんだから。それで？
まあ、勝手に調べてるよ。
勝手にって。ちょっとばんちゃん
Momose's voice echoed throughout the room. She was always a very forceful woman, and a loud one at that. The employees of Frisia were used to it, and none of them even raised an eyebrow at the noise. Not a day went by when Momose wasn't yelling at somebody. Bon had known her for years too, and had been on the receiving end of her yelling dozens of times. Ironically, his reaction was to pick at his ears. Momose's tone quickly dropped. This wasn't something she wanted anyone to hear. But the smile on her face that had been there when she was eating the yokan a moment ago was now completely gone. It was replaced with a look of intense rage as she pointed her finger in his face.
個人で追うのは危険だって言ったじゃない。政治に宗教に企業、どれだけ根深く関与してると思ってるの？この間テレビで G レートの講義をやった太田教授がどうなったか、あんたもよく知ってるでしょ。
ああ。貼り付けで殺された被害者だろ。何度も聞いたよ。
何度でも言ってやるわ。言ってやりますとも。あんたはいつも私の忠告を無視するんだから。それでいつも尻拭いさせられるのは私なんてたまったもんじゃないわ。
まあまあ、そうがなるなって。茶でも飲んで落ち着いたら。
Momose's reaction was to go for a second piece of chestnut yokan, not the tea.
大丈夫だって。一応諏訪と一緒に動いてるんで。今はまだ G レートやらなんやらってのは突飛すぎて上を説得できねえなよ。
諏訪ちゃんは確かに有能だし、しっかりしているけど、無理させたら承知しないわよ。
ももちゃんはいつから諏訪の保護者になったんだ？
パンちゃんの無謀な行動に未来ある若者が巻き込まれるのはかわいそうでしょうに。
ああ、そうか。
Bon shrugged. He tried taking a sip of tea, but it was still too hot. He winced in pain.
しかし、バイオリズムが人を殺す凶器になるなんてこと、本当にあり得るのかね？
前に説明したでしょうに。
実はいまいち理解しきれてねえんだわ。それってももちゃんお得意の電磁波と関係してるのかい？
Momose sighed and drank her tea. Unlike Bon, it didn't seem to bother her.
満月の夜の事件簿はよく知ってるでしょ？
うん、まあな。
There were a lot of accidents and crimes on the night of the full moon. This wasn't an urban legend. It was something you could see for yourself just by looking at the Tokyo police statistics.
その満月以上の力でバイオリズムカーブが上昇したらどうなると思う？
興奮するってことだろ？
それだけ？渋谷は特殊な街なのよ。言ったでしょ？ G レートが高ければバイオリズムカーブは上昇する。しかもその上昇値は満月の夜に影響する数値のおよそ6800倍。
なんとも想像しにくい数字だな。
比べ物にならないくらいすごいって考えとけばいいわ。
しかし、なんで今なんだい？
殺された太田教授が言っていたのは G レートが半年前から急に増加しているせいってことね。 想の構造に大きな変化が起きない限り、そんなことはありえないそうだけど。
変化ね。
そう。駅前のスクランブル交差点で火山が噴火するほどのエネルギーが必要なの。
火山？そんなに大きな力なのか？
それくらい、今の GE レートはありえない状況なのよ。
それを世間に訴えようとした教授はニュージェネで殺された。
事件の前日に、教授が出演する予定だったテレビ番組が急遽放送中止になった話、知ってる？
確かか。
知り合いに MHK に勤めている人がいて、聞かされたの。
国営放送の番組に圧力かけられる立場なんて、そうそうないぜ。
私も詳細についてはわからないわ。知ってたら、とっくに告発してるだろうし。
Bond leaned forward, seemingly interested.
俺でも大体予想はつくさ。この際、はっきり言っちゃってよ。
本気で聞きたい？社会の暗部に踏み込むことになるわよ。いいの？バンちゃん、クビになるかもしれない。
俺はニュージェネ事件の犯人さえ捕まえられりゃそれでいいんだけどね。ま、どうするかは答えを聞いてから考えるわ。
Momose sipped her tea, using her left hand to type into the laptop. A document appeared on the LCD monitor. It contained a list of information she'd researched on her own.
名和と
ももちゃん、勘弁してくれ。俺はてっきり野党の名前が出てくると思ってたんだがな。よりによって。
Bond gave a soft, annoying moan. But his eyes weren't laughing at all. They were filled with the sharp insight of a detective.
下手したら、この国が揺らぐぜ。
I couldn't really ask Remy to come to the base over the weekend, so I spent 2 days alone and afraid. On Friday, Remy had bought me enough food that I was able to spend the weekend entirely indoors, but I was still afraid enough several times. I almost sent her an email asking her to come over. In the end, I didn't, though. The only time I was released from my fear was the 30 minutes when I was watching the latest episode of Bloodtoon. Even with all that was happening, I refused to give up Bloodtoon. If Remy was my pillar of support in the 3D world, then my 2D support was Bloodtoon, or more specifically, Sedaton. Then, the Monday after I survived the weekend, I looked at the Phantasm community on Fripora and saw that something was going on. I quickly clicked on the link that sent me to @channel. The place was in an uproar. Phantasm's Fest spent time institutionalized. Let's see, the real name of Phantasm Fest is Kishimoto. She spent time in a mental institution when she was a kid. The hospital's name is AHM. Phantasm is finished. Quicks. I forget what that stands for. Whose eyes are those, lol? What's a fess? MJD? AHM is an institution for real crazies. Another hater, your trolling skills suck. If you're gonna post a thread, need a source. You're lying. Fess was never in a mental hospital. You should feel ashamed for slandering somebody like that. I've never even heard of AHM. Screw you. The one watching you was me, Fess. Pound in the steak. Pound in the steak. Put it straight into their lying mouths. One of you haters is going to be the next NewGen victim. Well, is legit. Fez was hospitalized for a long time due to mental issues. The hospital put out a newsletter with pictures, poems, and essays from their patients. You can see a bunch of poems she wrote in it. You can see one on the official site, too. Her real name is Aise Kishimoto, HM, Arc Heart Medical Group. Yes, I thought you guys were in love with her. Fewer rivals for me then, I guess. Yes. Lol, what? It's real? Yes, yes, yes. Feeling the fire. There's even a goddamn photo, lol. Announcement: Phantasm is splitting up. So is Phantasm finished? I really like Fess in a sexual way. Yes, this must be an expression of the great will's guidance too. Those lyrics aren't in Phantasm songs, are they? Fess, please don't quit. I'm crying here. I kind of get it. Every genius is supposed to be a little crazy, right? Fess is going to break up. I know. Key 1-1. We hold the Black Mass tonight. 12. LOL. Festan. Feston. Pant. I guess Phantasm's finished, though. I honestly think it's a better ending for them than signing with a major label and selling out. Any official comment from Fess yet? You Achan versions can bitch online all you want, and it won't change a thing. Fess doesn't look at the past, only the future. The next prophecy of death is going to be about you losers, lol. Wait, what's the issue with this exactly? There's a person inside. That's you, isn't it, Fess? You're desperate to keep your band running. We all know Fess was crazy to begin with. Who cares? Fess had mental problems, huh? Honestly, I think that just makes her hotter. Calm down, guys. This is all just a big troll by Feston. I bet Fess went crazy because the world is filled with evil. That power awakened her punk soul. Her aggressive, intense lyrics are a cry from her soul, which has ascended to a higher dimension. If anything, we should be grateful to 12 for giving us this deeper understanding of her origins. Official site's down. I went to the URL that 12 had posted. Urquhart Medical Association was a long-established psychiatric facility that only treated the most severe patients. There was a picture of the hospital on the site, and it showed bars on the windows. It looked like an old prison. I wasn't sure if it even existed anymore. Let's see, Urquhart Medical Group. What is Urquhart Medical Group? What we do? Yearly calendar, dormitory availability, facility tour, children's welfare consulting, access, children's creativity exhibition. Contact us. Urquhart Medical Group guides children towards towards a better life with strong leadership and a facility surrounded by beautiful greenery. The homepage hadn't been updated for almost 4 years, but just like Achan had said, the site had a picture of a young Ayase Kishimoto along with a poem she'd written.
Ayase ga seishin byou.
See, the body lurks in the shadow of a wicked heart, a thing which cannot be seen. I try to get away from it, but this unending nightmare shall someday become a blade and slash apart my body. A shield of indifference helps the people avoid the flames of war. The enemy on this newborn battlefield is the wicked one with the heart. Evil can sometimes have a will of its own and manifest in our world. I wasn't really shocked or anything. I'd gone to a mental hospital when I was in elementary school, too. If anything, it made me feel a little closer to her. She was just like me. Despite all her popularity, despite all her charisma, she was just like me. Having this in common made the idea that I had the same power she did, the power to project illusions into reality, feel more likely. It gave me courage and hope. But there was one problem. Until now, I'd blindly believed everything she said, but maybe that was a mistake. What she'd said about how to get the D-Sword, even the fact that getting a D-Sword would be what saved me, I started to doubt not what she'd showed me, but what she'd told me. Should I believe it, or... I started in fright as my phone suddenly rang. Phones always love to surprise you when you're least expecting it. That's why I hated them. I sighed and picked it up. It was probably an enemy. He was probably calling to complain about something again. What a nuisance. I hit the accept call button and put the phone to my ear without bothering to look at the number. Why did I do that? Why was this the one call where I didn't look at the number first? The melody coming out of the phone at an impossibly loud volume was Torianse. I quickly looked at the number on the phone's LCD display. It was the same number. But how? I thought it wasn't in service anymore. I had Nanami call it, and there had been a message saying so. Had the person behind this prank brought it back online? I looked around the room. If Rimi was here, she could give me some advice. But she wasn't. Of course not. Rimi was at school right now. I told her I wasn't going today, and she hadn't come to wake me up. The melody kept playing as I sat there freaking out. A whole minute had passed. When I had it up to my ear a moment ago, I could hear other faint sounds besides Toriase. The sounds of people walking, of car engines, so it had to be outside. Who was on the phone? I can only think of one person who'd pull a prank like this. Shogun. I turned to Serotan, who was standing next to my PC monitor, for help.
どうしたらいいと思うセラ
Serotan smiled the way she always did.
切っちゃえばいいさ。無視無視。
そっか。そうだよね。その手があった。
I should have done that right from the start. I put my thumb on the end call button, but for some reason, I decided to listen to the Torianse melody just a little more before I hung up. It felt so strange. I wanted to hang up right now, but almost unconsciously, I put the hand with the phone up to my ear. It came in a flood from the receiver, an incredible pain, a violent sound like a supersonic wave. The sound infected my body. My head felt an impact like it had been struck by lightning. My whole body froze. I screamed, but I couldn't even hear my own voice. It boiled over. My brain, my heart. They boiled and bubbled and started to melt. The pain tore through my body, ripping through my flesh. My mind turned to liquid and raced through my body, converging at my heart and exploding into a fine mist. It felt horrible, crazy. I couldn't even think about what had just happened to me. When Yua Kusunoki opened her eyes, she could see that all hell had broken loose in Class 3B, her class. Several of the students were lying on the ground. Their eyes had rolled back into their heads. They were foaming at the mouth, spasming and jerking. Several of the others were curled up into little balls, clutching their heads in pain. The rest were standing up one after another and leaving the room, even though it was the middle of the class. The teacher was too busy helping the ones who were having seizures to stop them. The students in the hallway were all yelling in shock, but Yua didn't hear what they were saying. Her phone had been going off inside her skirt pocket. She finally realized it was buzzing and slowly reached a hand towards it. She tried to stand up, but she staggered and fell from her chair. She crouched and leaned up against the wall. After putting her glasses back up to her face, she pressed the answer call button and put the phone to her ear.
はい。はい。はあ。はい。一応大丈夫です。
She winced after she said that, and then put a hand on her forehead. She could hear the voices of her classmates talking noisily outside, and her teacher shouting at the fallen students to wake up, but all this seemed to be happening very far away.
はい。あなたは、はい。はい。そうですか。それで、
Her face suddenly turned pale as she gulped. She covered the phone with her hand and dropped her voice low. It was clear from her tone that whatever she'd heard had rattled her.
そんなわけないんです。だって、本当は。
She stopped and let her hood droop.
本当は、私、だったのに。
The noise outside grew louder. Everyone was looking in the same direction, pointing fingers with fearful expressions on their faces. The windows in the hallways were rattling like they'd been hit by a gust of wind.
はい。そうです。私の妹です。はい。わかりました。
She bowed weakly as if the person she was talking to was right in front of her and hung up the phone. Then she looked up and towards the direction everyone was pointing.
空が。
It was like someone had poured white paint on a pool of water's surface. The muddied blue of the sky was turning white. It was spreading at incredible speed and was devouring the sky.
白く染まっていく。
Chapter 6, Noah. Actually, that might be a good place to have a real save. And why don't we stop it there? This is audap. You've been watching Chaos Head Noah running on Nintendo Switch. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.